PT. 4, 5, me tacar no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me tacar no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me...
Hola.
Hola, 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 ratón sin cola.
You'd have to translate that, Fletcher.
It's a mouse without a tailless mouse, or mouse without a tail.
And why would there be such a creature?
Well, there'll be such a creature because you're trying to. I have actually no clue why there is such a creature, and it could be some. I don't know. I think you got me on that one. That I don't know what the translation is. I think for me it's
journalists. We have a special jail for journalists.
Yeah, straight to jail. Straight to jail. You bring up something you have no clue what it is. It's one of those colloquialisms that you get taught as a kid, and yeah, just
okay.
I don't.
We'll let it slide.
We'll let it slide for now, but
we'll let
later
it slide.
there might be consequences and repercussions, right?
No, yeah, but not straight to jail.
Not straight to jail?
Well, no.
No.
Welcome, everybody. Happy post-Thanksgiving. Happy post-Turkey Day. We hope it was happy.
Right? You didn't get in too many fights with your family members, whether they went for Miss Harris or Mr. Trump.
Right? If you had some issues, please let us know in the chat. Please write it down. We want to hear. Spill the tea.
Spill the tea.
Well, I will say that with us, we definitely did not have any fights, right, Fletcher? No fights over the dinner table.
There was none. It was so peaceful. It's almost like they knew, like, we were kind of ready for it or something, or I don't know. I'm always itching for a good argument, so I think I always have that sense of, I'm going to get into it or something like that. I don't know.
In other words, what you're trying to say is that you're boorish, aggressive, and inflexible. Is that what you're trying to say?
I do. Yes, that fits me to a T. I don't know why my avatar just doesn't show up, Ursula. It's just not communicating with me. I had this problem earlier. If you can tell the folks what's going on,
what you look like.
Yeah, I think so.
A distinguished gentleman. Silver fox.
Is that what it is?
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
A special sort. Well, you see me.
Yes, I can see you,
and we can hear you, Fletcher. So I think it's okay. I mean, maybe you can figure out what to do about your missing face. I don't know if that's some kind of metaphor for the times, or
right. Let me slip out for a second, say something, and I'll be right back. Hold on.
Sure. All right, everybody. So Fletcher is going to pretend like he's Batman. In fact, have we ever seen Fletcher and Batman together in the same room? I don't know. All right, so today we have a great show for you. We are really excited to talk about a bunch of different items. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about Hunter Biden's pardon. I know people are talking about it. You might be interested in our perspective on this. We also have to talk about some other post-election issues and, some interesting, quirky items that we normally bring to you. Okay, there you are, Fletcher.
There you are. Can you see my avatar now better?
I can. We can see you. And we don't see Batman. I was speculating that we've never seen you and Batman together. So what does that mean?
I can neither confirm or deny. What I can confirm that the Wicked movie has been slapped with green trigger warning.
I did tell the listeners that we talk about some quirky details as we normally do from culture, which is our issue. And here we start with one. Tell us about this green skin trigger warning, Fletcher.
Well, I mean, we covered it last time. How absurdly weird and unusual this movie has been for the two lead stars as they go on this tour of uniqueness, to say it very kindly. Some kind of vegan triggering ceremony that they seem to perform at every stop, in as they dwindle to skeleton frames. But it looks like this movie just keeps getting like more unusual as we go. So the UK has slapped sorry, a trigger warning on this movie. And according to this, anti green screen rhetoric in Wicked has turned the movie anti green screen rhetoric. I mean, yes, that's not
Of
a
course,
typo.
let's make sure we got that right. So an anti-green skin rhetoric
Right.
is being cited.
Right. This is
Okay.
green skin racism. Because I mean, I know for a fact, you know for a fact, we obviously have a ton of family members, distant cousins, and a few of them obviously, are green, and that that you have to have like a little warning towards them. But no, we don't. Nobody has this. Nobody has like a green. There's no green people in the world. But
You take that back, Fletcher.
I'm sorry, blah blah blah. That's obviously I'm being insensitive to the alphabet, whatever her name is. So they learned a trigger warning for discrimination by the British Board of Film of Classifications. Obviously, they have way too much time in their hands.
Apparently,
because according to the regulator, seeing beloved characters being mistreated could be upsetting and poignant. Now, do you think people in the audience would know what poignant is? The people that are being triggered.
It seems that people who are stupid enough to be triggered by someone having green skin in a fictionalized movie that's based on the Wizard of Oz is probably not intelligent enough to know that. No, to know what poignant means. I mean, it's a kind of fantastical, science fictional type of story. I mean, what would they do with Star Wars, right? I mean, you're saying that this is triggering. I guess the idea here, Fletcher, is they're saying, look, she's being bullied because of her skin, and that's going to make people feel bad because, I really actually, you know what? I can't make sense of this.
No. It's one of those things to where you're kind of going, wait a minute.
That's a bit much.
That is a bit much. Because you're trying to say, all right, you see the character getting bullied, you sympathize with that character. I mean, and you bring it back to fandom because, I mean, I clearly remember there was, I don't know, she's a famous black dancer who was in Jabba the Hutt's palace as a slave, and she got thrown into the Ranctor pit in Star Wars, and there was no trigger warning there.
I don't remember that part. You sure that's in Star Wars?
Yes, it's in Jabba the Hutt's palace. People will know. People will know.
I guess okay. Listen, if anyone knows, please write this in the chat.
Yes.
Please declare your nerddom, your nerd card holding status by writing in the chat that you know what the heck Fletcher is talking about right now.
You guys will know what's up.
I don't know what he's talking about. I remember Princess Leia dancing with Jabba.
Yeah, but
right?
before that.
Are you sure about that?
Yes. Now we're going on a thing. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who throws us into spirals.
Well, okay, fair enough. So, okay, we'll move on. But you'll have to show receipts for that later.
I will. Not only will I show receipts, I will clip this and add that movie scene and be like, "See, okay. I told you so." Wicked trigger warning says a green screen woman is mocked, bullied, and humiliated because of a skin color. A disabled woman in a wheelchair is treated in a condescending manner by able-bodied people, and talking animals are persecuted in a fantastical society. So that's the trigger warning.
Fletcher, I mean, come on. You know what? This is so sad because even small children, when we were growing up, what did we read? I mean, we read much worse than that. I mean, we read, for example, that story Where the Wild Things Are, where you have little Max basically being told off by his mother and sent to his room without having anything to eat
How
because he's
dare
been
she?
bad. And then we see these fantastical creatures in the forest and the beasts, and he actually becomes basically a communist dictator to them and starts to like, ride them and like be a tyrant. I mean, children have read stories like Hansel and Gretel with the witch taking them and literally baking them and eating them or something. I mean, we have stories of, you know, ogres and dragons. And you're telling me that now in 2024, not just young people, adults have to have some you know, kind of help to know that you might be disturbed by someone who's being bullied in the movie and there's someone in a wheelchair being treated badly. What has happened to civilization and in the UK at that? I mean, Fletcher, Britain used to brag that the sun never set on the British Empire. And by that, they meant there was no place in the world that they hadn't conquered. So there was a place they had put their flag. So the sun never sets because here maybe it's nighttime, but over there it's daytime because we already went over there and conquered those people and conquered those lands. And now you're at the point where you're giving trigger warnings to grown-ups to see a movie that has fantastical creatures and things because they might be treated meanly. We're not even talking about like some graphic, grotesque violence. Maybe that in that case, you might have a disclaimer, perhaps, so people can make their minds up if they want to see it or not. You're talking about, what is it, a PG-13 movie?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you have to have a trigger warning
How
because
dare you?
because
It's
someone, I
sensitive.
mean, children actually know even at a young age that people can be mean. I mean, are you serious? That's crazy. It's insulting. It's
the
insulting.
the funny thing is like, so you're saying that Matilda doesn't need a trigger warning, and it has all kinds of shenanigans, but this one does. So
I mean,
obviously
there's
they're
all
not ready
kinds
for
of
Matilda.
I mean, we're not ready for Cinderella. I mean, Cinderella was
That
bullied
is true.
by her stepsisters and her mother. She had her mother die, her father be a completely absentee, emotionally absent father who doesn't even manage what's going on in the household with his wife, basically bullying his daughter. And she grows up with these ugly, ugly stepsisters who couldn't care less about her. I mean, are you serious? And that's a more realistic situation. And yet we read those as children, and we weren't damaged by them. At least I don't think so.
No, it's the thing.
We
Maybe
managed somehow to,
you didn't know that you were damaged inside by watching it.
that's insane.
It's one of those things where it does
I mean,
happen.
what about Bambi? I mean, that was one of the saddest things ever to watch Bambi die.
I actually think
Or
Bambi now has
Bambi's mother die. I guess that
I
was it.
think Bambi now has a trigger warning also.
Does it really? Are you serious?
I think it does. I don't
You're
want to
kidding me.
assume.
Oh my word.
I don't want to assume, but I believe it does. So
Okay, well then you told me off.
that's just letting you know. This is kind of new stuff. I mean, I think it had a new trigger warning in like everything now. Everything has some kind of trigger warning. Everything has some kind of, hey, this could be a little bit
But you know what
questionable
it
and
is?
stuff.
Here's why it's offensive. And of course, I'm not surprised it's in the UK because they have taken nanny state to a new level. And we're not far behind them, but they have definitely seemingly led the fray here. It's infantilizing. It makes not just children more childlike, but not childlike, childish. It makes adults like children. It makes adults childish, in which they have to get help for things that adults used to manage without anyone even thinking about it. And that makes the government more powerful. I mean, you have to be, really suspicious of these kinds of things. They're not doing this for your good. You know what I'm saying? They want to make you weak and soft. They want to make you not a hard person. The weaker and softer you are, the easier you are to govern. And so I think that's what this is about. I don't think it's innocuous. I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's kind, and I don't think it's for your best interest. They're giving these warnings and they're saying these things so that you start to internalize the idea that you're helpless and weak and injured by seeing something that's really not even a big deal. I mean, yeah, it's not nice if you're the disabled person and you don't want to be bullied, but you're saying watching it in a fictional story is somehow, going to injure you is insane.
No, no, it's completely because there's actually injury in the film. So, according to this Forbes article, Wicked spellbinding pay pockets reveal. So, part of the deal was for this that, according to some paid disparaging, uh, the UK, when they film things, they're a lot more, they have to disclose a lot more. And a lot of people like that about them because they give you that sense of, okay, what are they really spending in these movies, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
They have to kind of average it out. They basically do it in a way to try to keep Hollywood reporters prying eyes away by naming them other things, the corporations over there, but eventually it gets out. And so this one took a little bit longer to get out. But this reveals that women hourly pay on the crew of Wicked was 6.6 higher than men, which is an enchanting achievement. I like Forbes getting creative with their writing assignments. Um, especially
Enchanting.
right, especially when compared to other productions which have been building the as diverse showcases. Now, did you know things are called diverse showcases?
No,
Well, now you know. And so they reported
I'm
women who
not sure
worked
I'm
on.
better for it, but
I,
okay.
I don't know. It works. It both works. Just let it flow.
Okay.
Women who worked on Star Wars spin-off The Acolytes were paid an average 19.4% less than men, while women working out to play on Disney's incoming live action Snow White was paid 11.8% lower than men. So basically, what we have here is that the men, I guess, were discriminated at Wicked. They The women were paid less in The Acolyte, which was supposed to be a female empowerment also, and Snow White, which is another female empowerment kind of take, and they're just all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that these people, they can talk a good game in public, but in private they don't abide by what they say. It's kind of the epitome of hypocrisy, because they'll talk about equity and, equality, and then actually pay people differently, apparently, on the basis of their sex. um that's, pretty, that's pretty egregious, actually, if this is true. I mean, assuming that the report is true, that is not good. I mean, obviously, for women to make less than men, or for men to make less than women for no other reason than their gender, is not right.
Well, they're still complaining because they said Wicked crew can't live happily ever after just yet. See, she's Caroline is really bringing them in. Um, because women only representing 31.2% of employees in the highest paid upper hourly pay quarter, and taking the middle number when hourly pay is ranked from highest to lowest. She's doing some magic here. Show the women got 13.3% less than men. However, the overall average shows that Universal is well on its way to finding a magic formula. I don't know how paying some people more than others based on their gender is a magic formula.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
see it either.
I'm surprised at all this, and you're talking about, basically some people, like, so it's not even enough, even though they got enough, they got more than the men, obviously probably working the same thing, and then you're going after, saying, hey, but they were only 31% of the cast of the people working there, so hey, that's not bueno either. Let's get those rookie numbers up. Let's eliminate all the guys here.
I mean, obviously, I mean, we understand that on a movie that people will be paid differently, because obviously some people will be bigger stars. And, if you're Harrison Ford in a movie, you're probably going to command more than some, person who's a newbie, or in a smaller role. But if they're referring to kind of other kinds of roles, right? Perhaps extras, or all kind of at the same level of acting, or maybe people behind the scenes,
Right.
the people who work in lighting and tech and so forth, where there's not, the star quality. Certainly there might be some people who have better skills or more experience, than that could be reflected in their pay. But if everything being equal, they're paying someone more than other for no other reason than their gender or their sex, obviously that's a problem, and they should probably pursue it. The thing is, if you work in Hollywood, I imagine they probably don't do anything about it because they don't want to be blacklisted.
No, of course.
So they're not going to say anything, but instead they'll just rail at everybody in normal settings that we should be doing better, but why they themselves don't. So
No, it's one of those things where you're going, hey, uh, let's average them out. And I guess part of it that gets lost in all of this is what happened to actually, what you actually need to do, or the work that needs to be done, instead of focusing, okay, I have a job and I have a task, let's assign the person who's going to do the best task. Instead, we're into this area of just, it's almost like everything's a theater play, where you have to cast, no, we need so many women for the thing to make it even, or something like that.
Mhm.
And it's just like, yeah, life's not a, you're doing it wrong. I just feel like you're doing it wrong. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm not getting the full thing. But something else that was wrong, I guess. So folks, what they're doing is they're gagging themselves at this wicked. They're doing all kinds
What
of
is wrong?
things.
What is wrong with people?
I'm just throwing this out there because I knew you would find it kind of like interesting of the wicked fanatics able to get out there
So would you
and
explain? Do you want to explain to our
yeah.
our
So what we
listeners
have here
what's
is
happening?
it's basically two ladies looking very intensely at a screen. One's wearing pink and one, I guess, wearing dark grayish green. I guess they're dressed up or cosplaying into the theater, and they're both gagged, and says us trying not to sing along during the Wicked movie. Uh, and this is obviously considered not a bad behavior. The other thing that I'm kind of curious about, how they're going to eat the popcorn since they have a popcorn in their hands. If they're
Well, no,
gagged,
it's
are
like
they
a COVID.
inhaling it or
It's like
something?
that's pretty funny. It's like a COVID mask, right? So,
Right?
you don't get COVID.
Ah,
You don't. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't get C-19 if
yes.
you cover your. Are we going to get a blue thing from this platform now? They're going
We're
to say we're
we're
giving
yeah,
misinformation
probably
about
that's a
C-19
misinformation. You can't,
for even mentioning the word.
obviously you
That's
can
the level of
totally,
censorship now. And now that I said the C word, other C word, we're definitely getting it now. I said
now
this. I said the C word, and then I said the other C word. Oh, good
that's it.
grief.
That
Um, so this is like the C situation where you can't get the coof if you eat food with the mask hovering near your face and nose, right? You take it off
yep.
furtively, quickly, inhale, eat food, and then put it back. I guess the same thing goes here. They won't burst out into spontaneous, uncontrolled singing along with the characters on the screen, disturbing everyone around them if they wear the mask, and then they can have their popcorn. This is so funny to me. It's so crazy. You're right. First of all, I think they might be cosplaying because I guess the pink one is meant to look like the character that Ariana Grande plays, and
Right.
the one in the darker color, I think she's wearing glasses too, is to look like the one that the other actress plays, the one known as Elphaba in the movie, in the stage play, in the musical. And so that's hilarious. And then it's like they have no self-control, right? Because it's almost like I can't control myself from spontaneously singing in a movie theater, so I have to gag myself. Do you not see what we've done into our young people? It just seems like this is more of the C-19 situation. It's like they want to, they're comfortable with masking. They're showing that what masking is more about restraint than anything else. It's
Right.
more about control and not having control. It's not weird.
It's
Which if you were a young
no.
single guy, would you date any of these women? Would
Uh,
either of these women be attractive to you,
you
assuming
know,
all things being equal?
I would say they're kind of,
Weird.
yeah, weird for me, but yeah, I don't think so.
I
It's
mean, I definitely have a lot of exuberance in a movie. I have been known to sing along. I've been known to sing along, but I don't think I'd have to bind myself. I don't have to gag myself in order not to do so. Like, I mean, I could just not do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you play Sound of Music. It's hard not to go along with it, right? You know,
Dear,
dear, dear,
man,
oh
dear.
dear, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I
I
call
call
myself.
myself.
Okay, come
All
on,
right,
you
all
know.
right, all
Okay,
right.
all right.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. But the funny thing is, I guess part of my joke is that you've never gone to a black or Latino theater, right? Because we all talk in the screen, so this is kind of mute. I don't know. Are you guys new to the party?
Well,
I
I
don't know.
guess they're around people who would not appreciate it. So,
Yeah, very much so.
so
One thing we didn't appreciate, and we're still getting a little bit of as you guys know, Joe Biden. We did a short about it earlier. Pardon his son, Hunter,
yeah.
and it's become a bit of a controversy.
Oh,
Now,
for
now
sure.
all I'm thinking about is Prince controversy. All right,
May he rest
because
in peace.
may he rest his peace. But since we're doing the sing along, we should do kind of like a sing along thing for the whole show. Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
So this is coming from the Federalist. By pardoning his son more than a decade of potential crimes, the president is protecting himself of all. Now, this is the thing that I didn't get. I thought he was, just pardoning him for, whatever it is, charges on the pew pew that he had with, drug or whatever, stuff like that. But I guess that's not the case. I guess he was pardoned for like whatever he dealt with in like
Yes.
11 years. It's
It
like
was
a
a
like a huge.
blanket, a
It's
blanket
like a
pardon.
like a
Yeah.
big pardon. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's not. It's not no
Blanket pardon.
silly like discount pardon like you
No
get at the
discount pardon.
7-Eleven or the XOXO, right? You're just gonna go and you're like, nah, son, this is gonna be a real pardon. This pardon is gonna be real pardon all over the place. You're gonna do something and be like, man, I think it's like a pardon card that he's gonna have, and it's like, he does something. Now he's just gonna carjack all the hookers in the middle of the streets and be like, "Ha, son."
Fletcher.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Railing it in.
Reel it in, Fletcher.
President Joe Biden didn't pardon Hunter because he's a loving father who thinks his drug-addicted son was treated unfairly by Justice Department. By the way, this is an article coming from the Federalist. He pardoned Hunter to help him cover up his own crimes, just as likely pardon other members of his family. That's the other thing. Some people are saying more to come, but wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more.
Before he leaves office in January, he's trying to protect himself, and this is one of the only ways he has left to do it, according to President Biden. Is the one of the center of the influence peddling and bribery schemes that Hunter ran while Biden was vice president. Joe, not Hunter, was the one being bribed. He was his influence, not Hunter. That was being purchased by Ukrainian oligarchs and Chinese businessmen, both during and after Biden was vice president. There's no Biden family business without the big guy focusing on Hunter's crime, and his pardon is the distraction from the far more serious crimes his father committed. Even Hunter's persecution was really about him or his misdeed. The tax and gun charges were about protecting him from being indicted for more serious charges. Now, this is the one that I didn't understand. I guess it wasn't like a tax or gun charges that they were worried about. They were worried about the stuff where, supposedly, if you guys didn't know, Hunter was selling art at very high prices to a lot of dignitaries from countries that people say may want favors from and curry favors. And, surprise, surprise, some of those people then get like, deals and money sent over and stuff like that. I mean, I still don't know how many billions of dollars are missing from certain things. But I guess this involved with Hunter's business dealings overseas. And I guess that's why they say that Counsel David Weiss never indicated that the younger Biden for failing to register as a foreign agent or allowing the statute of limitation to expire on other serious crimes when he engineered the sweetheart plea deal that he was going to take, right?
Right.
Actually, he took because he was guilty. The people that
He pled guilty. I mean, that's the thing. I had a conversation with a family member over this, and it's very frustrating. This was, several weeks ago, who had the impression that, well, poor Hunter, he's never done anything wrong. And it's like he pled guilty.
Mm,
I mean, I'm not saying that some people might plead guilty to things that they're not guilty of, because strategically it makes more sense to plead and get a good deal rather than take chances at trial where someone may not see things your way. I definitely get that. But I don't think that's what happened here. He has at his ability to afford the very best lawyers there are. His father is literally a sitting president. I don't think he has to feel that he would be railroaded. So it's not like a normal citizen who, might have that kind of difficult choice. And it's not like he wasn't a darling, right? Because
right.
people already in the media were covering up his misdeeds. And it took like a lot of people in the alternative media to keep bringing up this idea of his laptop and all these things that were going on and putting pressure on it about reporting. So it's not like, he's from the Trump family where they typically have kind of, the media has kind of gone after Trump, and it hasn't been easy for him to always get his word out until, he started to use social media. That's still not Hunter's situation. Hunter has never had a situation where he had to feel like, he's being persecuted. I don't think that was the situation.
Right.
So the fact that he pled guilty is because he's guilty. I don't think there's anything else going on there.
Yeah, I mean, he's already pled guilty. He has. I mean, there's so many things in this thing that kind of are just head scratching, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the article talks about how uh, Hunter had a business arrangement with a company called Burisma, the Ukrainian gas company that was paying 800. So it was like $83,000 monthly salary,
Hmm.
and he has like zero, you know, experience in the energy sector. And Trump was trying to get information about this, when he was president, because it's like, what's the connection, you know what I mean? And that before then, and we kind of get all this connection with Ukraine and stuff like that. But I guess they said that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, then trying to impeach Trump, put more of the uh, emphasis on that to try to get some heat out of Hunter. And that's something I haven't heard before. I know that a lot of animosity was towards the now new president. That this is there's more stuff going on. So people now are saying, excuse me, that the reason this whole impeachment of Trump kind of got into it to take heat away from all the stuff that people were digging out with Hunter, and it's just it feels like we don't haven't even scratched the surface of this.
Oh, I'm sure about that. At the same time, I mean, and I definitely appreciate people like Uncle ABL saying, don't take the position that, well, of course you would pardon, him, and, just overlook it. I agree. I definitely think people who take this as a lighthearted thing, as though, oh no, other people did wrong, so why shouldn't he get the same chance, is not the same at all, because in his case, he pled guilty already. He
Right.
This is not a situation where he was either railroaded or anything that you can tell happened. At the same time, though, Fletcher, I've said this to you. I mean, is anyone surprised by this? I think
No.
we all knew this was going to happen, and I actually think that it's not a bad thing. I don't. I know people would maybe disagree with me. I think that I can definitely respect those who say it is bad, that it's a sign of corruption. And it very well may be. But I do believe the pardon power, not that I am any expert, of course, in this, but is for this purpose, that people in politics who are at a high level, you know, don't want to be pursued afterwards for, being out there or bold or doing certain things. I think people should be smarter about whom they elect. Like, don't elect crime families. Don't elect people who have these kinds of values.
That's
But
just
at the end of the
crazy.
day, I mean, honestly, if you have a son, you're not going to let him go to jail. Okay. You're just not. I mean, honestly, I don't think I would either for anything other than, a crime against a woman or a child that was, serious or of any nature. If it was something else, I probably would do the same thing. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, I might reprimand him privately, but I'm not going to let him be taken, to jail if I have the power of the pen to make it all go away. I think what's strange, I think what you said in the first with this article though, is that it seems the president wasn't really looking out for his son as much as he was looking out for himself.
That's kind of like the rub, right? That's I guess, yeah. I
Because it might
mean,
implicate him as well. And that means we should expect more pardons in the next few weeks. I mean, I was surprised that President Biden did it so quickly. I mean, I was expecting this to happen. I was expecting fully for him to pardon Hunter Biden, but I was thinking he might do it like January 10th, on the way out the door. Just push it through in the midst of inauguration, affairs and parties and events and all kinds of things. It would still be noticed, but it would be swallowed up with so many other things. But I think he had to really get this done. But I also think that means there's more coming. He had to get this one out of the way so that he has time to pardon other people and things and maybe himself. Now, that's the thing that has never been done, apparently, Fletcher.
right.
No president apparently has ever pardoned himself for acts taken during office. If we're wrong about that, please, those in the chat who know better, let us know. But there was already some snafu, some goof by Esquire magazine where
Oh
they
yeah,
said,
yeah. Oh no,
yeah,
that's fully in the cut right here. So what Ursula's talking about is that liberal journal Esquire is forced to delete entire. You know how
unbelievable.
much it is to delete an entire article after a writer tries to defend Hunter Biden by finally smearing George
Ridiculous.
H.W. Bush. I mean, if you're gonna smear George W. Bush, there's a whole lot of stuff to smear George W. Bush on. This is one that where you might have had to sit down, son.
Sit down. I mean,
Sit down. So I
oh
guess
my
it was
gosh. Right.
like a
Yeah. Tell
play
us.
on a whole lot of different things. So this guy, Mr. Pierce, he's basically started going like, hey, Hunter Biden isn't the first presidential son caught up in controversy. Anybody remember Neil Bush? Nobody defines Poppy Bush presidency by his son's struggles or the pardons he issued on his way out the White House. The moral: shut the F up about Hunter Biden, please. Now, this is Esquire magazine, and I thought Esquire magazine was a classy magazine.
It is supposedly the classy
Obviously,
magazine.
I was wrong.
It's obviously
Esquire,
incorrect.
obviously, if you need somebody to write articles, let me know. I think I could do a better job.
I think you're too good for it, but yeah.
I don't know. I like I like to look dapper sometimes. I could wear a pocket square to work. I could do that. So then right away, it's like you get a tale in a few slides. Editor's note: this story has been updated. An early version started incorrectly. That George Bush gave presidential pardon to his son Neil Bush Esquire regrets the error.
Yeah, I
this
bet.
column no longer available.
And listen. This is why. Okay, so let's just take a minute, shall we, and just break down what this tells you about the complete disintegration of the mainstream media, because it used to be that before you could write a story, especially one that's not considered a rag in a magazine like Esquire. I mean, Esquire has been around for decades. It's considered, like you said, Fletcher, a classy magazine. It has really good stories in the past. It's had really good articles. In fact, I have to admit, though I'm a woman and I know what a woman is,
what?
There's such a thing. I know the Supreme Court can't define it yet, but I am a woman, and I will say this here, used to subscribe to Esquire as a young woman, actually, even in high school, because I really liked the articles. The articles were so smart. They were about art and culture, kind of like what we want to do here on the show here at Indignant Desert Birds, what you see us doing, news, but also popular culture, art, film, what have you. And it started to get kind of political and a little bit slanted. And so I finally lost interest in it. And I found other things I was reading. And there's so many choices today. But they used to give really good stories. I mean, everything seemed very well researched, it was very well written. Look where things have fallen. So they make this article saying, please, shut up about Hunter Biden. Stop, critiquing President Biden because this has been done before. Look at George W. Bush Sr., who pardoned his son on the way out. And it's like, you literally AI'd that. You literally made that up. But guess what? You know why it got corrected? Do you think it was because of their own self-reflection? Maybe the editor or senior editor checking the story, fact checking. Do you think that was what it was, Fletcher?
No. Of course
No,
not.
it wasn't that. It was readers. It was people like on X. It was literally people in social media checking them. And that's why it's so important to have social media, because we are the journalists now. And people don't like that in the mainstream media. They don't want to be replaced. And they have this snobbery that we can't do the job. We do it better than you do it, because other people were like, wait a minute, did that ever happen? That never happened. Now, before, if there was no way to critique that, it would go weeks before it would be changed. And people might be swayed by it. They might say, oh, yeah, you're right. This thing happening with Biden, it happened before with Bush. They know what they're doing. Let's just say that. They know what they're doing. They just AI'd it. They just lied. And you know what I mean? They just look at this. Look at this headline, you guys. And the only reason they got called on it is because of people like you listening to us right now. And so keep it up. Keep it up, because you're the reason they deleted this story, which was a complete fabrication. And I say AI'd it because there have been stories of lawyers going to court and relying on AI to do research for them and say, can you find me a case that says X? And AI made up the case. Have you heard about this, Fletcher?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and people relying on it. They're going to court telling the judge, well, you see, in this other case, the judge said X. They're like, wait a minute, which one is that? And they named the case and it doesn't exist. AI made it up. So apparently AI lies. It's happy to lie. If you ask it for something that doesn't exist, it will make it up. And it's going to try to please you. So it'll make it up. It has no morals. AI is unethical. I mean, by nature, it's a robot, right? It doesn't have morals. It doesn't know not to lie. And so this is what this sounds like. It's like, oh, you know what? Guess what? AI, tell me who else pardoned. And it's like, George Bush Sr., he pardoned Neil Bush. I'm probably they didn't make up a name. His daughter, Shaniqua Jackson. Remember Shaniqua?
I remember Shaniqua. She was up to no good.
She's
she owes me money.
She owes me money. I mean, you're going to be embarrassed. Going to write, you know what?
So you're saying
George Bush pardoned
the fault.
His niece Shaniqua.
Yes. So it's not the fault of poor Charles Pierce. It's the fault of a wicked AI.
It might be, but I also think they know better. And I think
know.
that they're horrible. That's what
they are horrible. But I guess the truth is started fiction with this whole thing. Elon Musk shared this. And I guess so. A California businessman says the president's son tried to pay rent with his own artwork. It still owes him more than $300,000, and he's asking, "Is that pardon now?" So you have like this whole thing to where like this is a gift that's gonna keep on giving for a long time. So I mean, this is an actual story. Pierce, maybe cover that instead of
making stuff up.
Making stuff up that's AI when somebody's trying to, actually do something. But I
mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, how far does I would love it if anyone who is interested in this kind of thing, who knows about it, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you what you think about this, by the way, but also if you think that it means obviously the time frame covers over a decade. Does it also cover every single thing? Like, does it cover, if he's pardoned, I guess that means if he has outstanding traffic tickets, he doesn't have to pay them. If he has a civil matter, does that mean he's pardoned too? I don't know. That's what it sounded like. I don't know if that's really, I thought a pardon was for stuff that's criminal, not necessarily civil. However, who knows? A presidential pardon is one of those things where we don't really think about it too much. Normally, the way it's used is not like this, right? It's usually on the eve of the president, outgoing president, and it's usually for political prisoners, right? It's usually like I
Right.
think I remember one that Clinton did that I think was a good one actually. There was this young woman. She actually had been adopted as a baby by her family. They were a black middle, or I'm sure they're still alive, black middle class family, maybe upper middle class family, and they wanted a child desperately. They adopted this little baby girl, a black girl, and they took really good care of her. But they probably were a little too sheltering of her, Fletcher. And when she went to college, she very quickly fell into a bad group. And not really a bad group. It was a guy there who I don't think was even going to the college, but pretending to be while looking for a mark. And she, which happens, by the way, sometimes in colleges, especially in urban environments, you have to be very careful about this. There's some people who are there who are not there for any good reason. They're not there for an education. They're there to scam others. And college is a good place to be to do that with a lot of young people who, have sometimes money from parents and from loans, from student loans, and, are vulnerable. So that's what happened with her. It turns out he was a drug dealer and he got her. Yeah, no, he got her all wrapped up in this drug thing. And she didn't even fully know everything about it. But then she kind of got trapped in the situation. And because of the drug laws at that time in the 90s, she had one of those mandatory sentences that literally, even though she had no criminal history, and she was a good girl, she just was very naive and she got involved with this stupid, horrible guy. And now she was going to prison. I think the guy had hardly any time because I think he may have ratted on her, even though he's one that compelled her to do it. And she got like life in prison, for some drug deals that she was just really the accessory to, the accomplice to. And there was a lot of, I think her name was Kendra or Kenya. And there was a lot of talk about this because it wasn't even a lot of drugs she was caught with, but because of the mandatory minimums, she had to go for like forever. And her parents were distraught. And I think on the way out,
terrible.
Yeah, it was a terrible story. And I think she may have gotten pregnant by this guy too. And he was just bad news for her. And she was just, very naive. She'd never had a boyfriend before. She went to college, her parents didn't really prepare her for, dealing with predators. And I think Clinton did pardon her on the way out because she was no other way. She had no appeal.
Yeah,
she had nothing.
She had nothing left.
It was mandatory. She was caught with like a little bit of drugs, but that was enough under the old rules. I think now they've been changed. But that is the kind of pardon you're used to, or maybe something like what I think Trump did with his friend Dinesh D'Souza, who was also a really good guy, very, very esteemed guy. He was a professor. And I think he's done some movies, some documentaries, etc. And what he had done, Fletcher, was give too much money to a candidate. It was a friend of his who was running for office, I believe.
I remember Mr.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, you should look that up. Actually, it's a very shocking story because it just shows how people can run afoul of the law without even intending to. And yes, the law is the law, but it also seems like it was used against him because he's a conservative. And they were looking to get him because he'd been already very vocal, Mr. D'Souza, on various issues that liberals don't care for, don't want to hear from conservatives on. And so he made this mistake. It looks like it really was a mistake of either fundraising or giving money to a candidate. You would think he stole from somebody.
You would think so, but yeah, it was just one of those things where he gave something like
and it was
the amount or something like that.
And there's a campaign finance rule that said he couldn't do. He did like 10,000 too much money. Okay, whatever. So he there was no way out. I mean, he literally did do it. I mean, he didn't have the intention to do wrong, but he did wrong. And the law was very clear. So he pled guilty for the deal because if he was found guilty after trial, he said he would have gone to prison for 10 years. And he's like, how am I going to do that? I have a family, I have a business. I can't survive. I can't make that. So he took the deal, which meant he spent very little time in jail and had to pay a lot of money. Well, I think President Trump did pardon him, and that's a good pardon. But I've never heard of a pardon like this one. So I don't think anyone really has a lot of information about how this is going to go. And it'll be interesting in the next, couple of weeks, what's going to happen, because like you said, this thing is deeper than we think. So who knows how far it goes.
Yeah. And it's one of those things to where you're kind of left wondering. It's to me, you have this thing where it makes sense because you're feeling like, okay, you just pardoned the son, everybody would pardon the son, but then you're like, this it goes much deeper. Now people are talking about him pardoning like himself, other people in the cabinet, and including the Fuchi guy and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we can go on a parade in this one because it feels like it just never ends with this thing. But it's another questionable thing, I guess, that's happening. Some of this stuff happening with, I guess, this whole medicine, and I guess we're gonna really have to tiptoe around this one, guys. Sorry.
Transformers.
So yeah, so there's going to be a lot of transformative communication here. Some little jumping some hoops here. So this says the DOJ prosecutor targeting a transformative medicine whistle. Well, I don't know if we're going to say medicine. It was, we're getting sometimes a little bit hit on some of this wording and stuff. So let's say care. Whistleblower was just taking off a case. So the prosecutor was going after Dr. Ethan Haim, a medicine whistleblower who's been recused from a case after information showed a major conflict of interest surrounding her family involvement in the hospital system that has the care. So I guess to recap, in 2022, the Children's Hospital was exposed. Texas Children's Hospital was exposed to pushing of this, transformer medicine on kids, and encompassing blockers of things, some treatments and surgeries that snip, chop chop. And predictably, backlash ensued. So, following the backlash, executives at the hospital claim that the chop clinic should be shut down. However, with the help of the whistleblower, revealed that several of the doctors at the center continue to secretly provide this. It's it's funny because it says care. But I have no clue how that could be care when you're basically snip, chopping children that are gonna grow up. And we were all kind of nuts as kids, running around eating dirt and chasing after railroad cars. So I don't know.
Are you
how
referring
much...
to me here?
No, I'm referring to myself. But hey, if you did some of that stuff, good on you. All I know is that it's a very impressionable time. We know that I believe children's brains don't develop fully, and that's why. Hey, we had a case about that where you can't take kids out anymore, like they did back in the days, because their brains are not fully developed. So if their brains are not fully developed, there's a question going on here, because you're saying that they are able to care for this, but there's some more stories on that going on. This whole thing is exploding. This is just one of the cases. There's something else coming up that we're going to talk about also. So I guess they were still providing this butchery, even though they told them to stop, obviously, because not actual medicine. Hippocratic oath, do no harm, and chop, snip. It's on. So I guess AIM bravely contacted the outlets to share that the hospital had lied about terminating this program and services. And a lot of this chops are you can't go back. Once this choppy, snippety, there's no fixity.
No, there isn't.
So I guess 2023, AIM was scheduled to graduate from Texas Children's Residency Program. That's when federal agents appear on his front door and inform him that he had identified him as a leaker. He's a leaker. About this situation, And afterwards, I guess this U.S. attorney, Tina Ansari, began threatening him with persecution. You would think he would be a hero, right? So I guess according to Fox News, on November 13, 2024, Ames lawyers notified the DOJ about they believe to be an undisclosed conflict of interest. Ms. Dyer close family members had substantial financial and political ties with third parties of this case. Ooh, man. So basically, the prosecutor had ties to his
Isn't that
case.
unbelievable? I mean, the level of
Like,
corruption in this government is so shocking.
how
I
do you
mean, you
not
always
disclose that
you
you
oh
are basically tied to this thing?
yeah, I mean, you always expect that to some extent because you're not naive, but at the same time, it just goes so disgustingly deep. I mean, first of all, the fact is you have a doctor who's taken a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. That's what I have a friend who's a doctor. I went to her medical graduation from medical school, and I was really impressed. They had all the graduates stand and raise their right hands and take an oath that they would do no harm, that that ancient aphorism from Hippocrates, which is supposed to underlie all of the care that you get from a doctor. They're not supposed to do anything that could harm, and that you have this transformation care, so-called care in scare quotes, because it doesn't do anything to help the body. Nothing. The idea is that it helps the mind because somehow the mind thinks differently about the body than what the reality of the body says. We used to treat that with, I don't know, psychiatric care, but
Mm,
now we treat it with so-called, affirming care, which care involves, like you said, Fletcher, chop, chop, snip, snip. And the chop, chop, snip, snip is permanent. And so if a child, who may not honestly be able to consent in anything else in the society, right? They can't consent to do anything. They don't have the mindset, like you said, we don't even delete children who commit violent crimes anymore because we used to have children on death row, but we don't anymore because I think properly the Supreme Court says they don't have the brains or the mind to judgment to make the decisions an adult does in doing a violent crime. So you can put them in jail, sure, but you can't delete them. But now they can decide that, as a young age that they are in the wrong body and chop, chop, snip, snip and do something. And so, this place was told to stop doing it. And this doctor whistle blew and said, look, they're still doing it. And what does the government do? They come after him.
right.
And as you say, also the particular prosecutor involved in it doesn't disclose that she gets money from the hospital for these surgeries or has some kind of a financial interest in whether or not the hospital does well. According to the article, that's insane. I think they all have a financial interest. That's what this is all about.
No, completely. It's like not only a financial interest, but I mean, to basically not disclose that you're the prosecutor, you're basically threatening a whistleblower. You're threatening in your capacity as a member of the judiciary because you work for the government, right? The
Right.
government is the Department of Justice. This is why we're with Cash Patel and all that stuff trying to come in and saying, we got to slash this whole thing. Is because things like this, where you have to, if you have, I mean, you should have disclosed this. You have ultimately, a duty to basically say, hey, you know what, I might be a little bit biased here, and you're like basically trying to silence somebody that is trying to come forward. What is that going to do to other people that are trying to come forward? And it's like, wait a minute, this is the complete reason that a lot of people don't trust some of these agencies is because they feel they're going to get railroaded, or they feel that the agency is working for the people that they're trying to whistleblow on.
Right.
And
Right.
you're basically saying, you know what, that feeling is, you're absolutely correct, because I mean, not to be like X-Files about it, but this is very X-Files. Come on, Mulder.
It is X-Files. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, we already have a situation we've reported on before, Fletcher, where you have literal grandmothers and grandpas who have never done anyone any harm, never caused anybody a problem, praying outside of deletion clinics and are being arrested for it. That's how they're weaponizing, laws that have been on the books that were never used that way before. And now we have people literally trying to save children, saying, look, they're doing transformation surgeries over here, and they were not supposed to do that. And then what happens? He gets in trouble. It's like,
Yeah.
that's Banana Republic stuff. That's
No,
not
that
what we
is.
should stand for. I'm so happy. I mean, I'm not a conservative. I've said that before, but I do respect it. And I mean, for all those listening, I don't know let us know in the chat where you stand. Are you a conservative? Are you liberal? Are you moderate? Are you a libertarian? Are you a leftist that's kind of waking up after you start seeing some of these things going on? We'd love to hear about it. Please write to us and let us know. But I have to say, this is one of the most corrupt governments I have seen. It shouldn't be that the person who tells the truth about something gets in trouble for it. That's not what we're supposed to be like here.
And getting hounded for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, persecuted and prosecuted.
Yeah, if it didn't have good lawyers, imagine.
I mean, no, he's literally Fletcher. He's literally on trial. I mean, it's a criminal prosecution of him. I think what they do sometimes, they say, which I think might have happened in his case, that you disclosed information you had no right to under some of the HIPAA laws.
Right.
Or things like that. So that's what I think they do. I've heard about this before. So people who are trying to whistleblow getting in trouble. I mean, we've had this before. People, they forget the bigger picture here is that you're mutilating children.
Right. Well, you're snip, chop, chop.
I'm sorry. Snip, chop, chop.
I mean, don't.
Okay.
Don't. It's basically.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
You gotta watch.
That's what we're doing. Yes.
We're doing
there.
That's all. Yeah, but this is not the funny thing is I kept thinking it was the same story, but this is completely different stuff because this is the things that are happening right now, I guess, before the Supreme Court. So I guess this ACLU lawyer claims that 2-year-olds know when they're, transformers in this CNN appearance. And I guess this is somebody that's with the Civil Liberties Union and very questionable haircut. I'm just gotta say on that one.
I think it's a very questionable. All facial hair is questionable. I mean, what's those eyebrows look like caterpillars about to get into a duel.
Damn.
And I'm not sure what's happening with that mustache. It looks like it was patched on.
Oh man. So I don't know how much of this we can play, but obviously let's see what's going on with Homeboy's hair. He looks like he's half asleep too.
Nobody has to provide this.
Whoa! What is this? What
is going on?
What? That's just like.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Is this a woman that? It
Fletcher.
sounds like a woman.
Fletcher.
All right.
This medication to
Yes. Okay.
To adolescents. These are not doctors being forced to provide this medication. These are doctors who are wanting to treat their patients in the best way that they know how, based on the best available evidence to us. And these are young people who may have known since they were 2 years old exactly who they are, who suffered for 6-7 years before they had any relief. And what's happening here, it's not the kids who are consenting to this treatment, it's the parents who are consenting to the treatment. And as a parent, I would say when our children are suffering, we are suffering. And these are parents who love their children, who are listening to the advice of their doctors, of the mainstream medical community, and doing what's right for their kids. And the state of Tennessee has displaced their judgment. I would say is
what?
That's scary right there.
This whole thing is all kind of nightmare fuel.
It's nightmare fuel.
It's just I
don't know what to even say. I mean, I almost don't want to say anything.
I have no clue. Yeah, I mean,
you know what? We can say this. We can say this. Okay, we can say that this is nonsense. Okay, this is nonsense, and the way we know this is nonsense is for you to tell us that 2-year-olds know anything about their moral, physical, psychological, or spiritual welfare, you've lost any ability to talk to me, because that is a complete lie. I mean, a 2-year-old does not have anything to be able to say what they are or what they should be or what kind of decision they should make about their medical care. Okay. That's common sense right there. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me other than that to tell me, a 2-year-old knows if they are transformers. You shut up. Like, just shut up. You freak of nature. Shut up. Because one thing 2-year-olds know, they know if they're hungry. They know if they are needing to go to the bathroom by 2. Most do, not always. They know, that who their parents are, usually their siblings, their pets. They know their own names, typically. They know if something hurts, but they do not know anything on any complex nature. As in the Catholic Church, we would say they have not reached the age of reason. So we don't even let, in the Western Church, 2-year-olds receive communion. We don't, because we say you have to have some basic understanding of the sacrament before you can, receive our Lord. And so you have to be at least 7, because that's what I think Pope Pius X or the 12th, I forget which one, but it was, I think, Pope Pius, who said, he made it younger, because at one point I think you had to be 14 or 15. He says, well, it doesn't have to be that old, that mature. You just have to have reached the age of reason, meaning you have some moral understanding. You know right from wrong. You know what a lie is, what the truth is. You have enough understanding that you should be trying to tell the truth here. You should understand, what some basic understanding of what God's expectations of you are, blah, blah, blah. And he did look at, I believe, psychology, the best studies of philosophy, and so forth, to come to the idea that for most people, generally speaking, it's about age 7. So for you to say 2-year-olds, this is disgusting to me.
No,
That
it's
makes him a freak to me. And not because of whatever transformation he or she is going through or
she's
has
a
gone through.
biological woman.
But I say freak of nature because you have a crazy idea that you would be so awful to little children to make a lie about them, to say that they know. If they know that they're transformers at 2, then why shouldn't they be able to engage in sexual conduct at that age, according to you? You didn't say that. She didn't say that. But if you're saying they know that, if they can make that kind of complex judgment about themselves, then why couldn't they do that? So to me, you're already excusing PDF files, because you're saying that 2-year-olds now. I mean, do you see how depraved that is? That's depraved. And I know they might have a bigger argument than that before the Supreme Court. I'm sure this is more than, but for you to say that, I mean, has anyone on the chat have kids or babysat a 2-year-old? Okay. They don't know that. They don't know anything.
Well, I mean, you were saying on the Supreme Court, so I guess this is part of. I guess it's the audio from
Can't
this.
eliminate the risk of detransitioners. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, counselor. Every medical treatment.
All right, this is Supreme Court Justice.
Okay, we got to have a gag alert. Okay, you know how they said trigger alert? We started out with trigger alerts.
Yeah.
Now, I think the trigger alert is very silly, especially for a movie like Wicked. But y'all get ready. Y'all need to this is a gag alert. Gag alert. This is a real one. You need this one.
Yeah. So this is her speaking.
Okay.
Has a risk. Even taking aspirin. There's always going to be a percentage of the population under any medical treatment that's going to suffer a harm.
All right. So, God bless her. What is the saying, the Southern saying, where it's like,
bless her heart.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Bless her
because
heart.
this man is talking about chopping up and
chop, chop, snip, snip,
snip, snip, snip, and giving medicines or the medicine. I'm sorry, giving elixirs to children that would basically not only keep them on the tit of the big pharma company for life. So you're basically setting a child up for that. But also that it's going to
lifelong
have
patient.
Yes,
Lifelong patient.
irreparable there's going to be something where you're not coming back from, right? You're just you better be sure this is a road you want to go on, because there's no turning around. You're sending this poor child in a one-way street, not knowing what the outcome's going to be. Well, there is some people that do say they know what outcome could be, because they are people who have survived some of this stuff and lived and told horrific tales about it. One of them did support President Trump on this, and very vocal. But I guess we got to hear that again.
Medical treatment has a risk. Even taking aspirin.
So taking aspirin has a risk. And you're equating this something like, when your baby's sick and they take a little aspirin and they crush it and stuff like that. She's equating this as exactly the same. What kind of argument is this?
I mean, it's not an argument. And here's the thing. I'm very disappointed with Justice Sotomayor on this. I have to tell you that, because, I expected more from her than that kind of a statement. Because listen, here's why it's not the same. Not only because of the harm is potentially much worse, as you pointed out, Fletcher, but they're for different reasons. Honestly, what are you gaining by having a minor child, a little child, do a transformation like that? You don't get anything from it. You're telling me you can't keep that child safe and happy and in some kind of psychiatric care or treatment or medicine to make them feel better about themselves until they're 18 years old, and then they can make their own choice. You're saying that the harm that potentially of chopping, snipping when they're 5 years old, 8 years old, they're 2 years old, according to that freak, you can go and chop, snip. So then when they're 20 and say, you know what, I actually feel like I want to have children, and you cannot. Because they cannot, generally speaking. It's hard for them to do so because they've been on hormone blockers, puberty blockers. They've been on, transformation surgeries that we don't even know the long-term cost for that. It might cause cancer. It might cause other issues. It might cause mental change. Yeah. We don't know what it could cause, right? We don't know. And but we do know that, fertility is somewhat fragile. And for a lot of people. And so if you chop, if you chop a boy, he's not going to be a father. I mean, he might be in a non-natural way, but if he wants to do it in the natural way, he's not going to be able to do that, nor engage in what I think most men find enjoyable, right? In a marital intimacy. It's a really evil thing to do. Let him choose to do it at 18. But if you take an aspirin, when you take an aspirin, it's because you're saying, you're in pain. And the aspirin has very, generally speaking, low side effects. I mean, there are some. You could have some kind of syndrome that some people get who are allergic to aspirin. But assuming you don't have that effect, which you would obviously want to test for, and there are ways to do it. You can do that with a physician. It makes sense that you give someone an aspirin. You can give a child a baby aspirin so they feel better if they have a fever. But you're equating that to something that does not necessarily do any good for the child. It does something good for the people who make money off the child by chop, snipping. So I feel like you were right to point that out, Fletcher. I think it's a terrible argument.
No, I mean, it's just a horrible argument. And it seems like, her fellow Supreme Court justice also has another bad take on this. So this is Justice Brown Jackson just compared banning minors getting these surgeries to banning interracial marriage. So I guess that's a thing.
Drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, The court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me.
What?
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 What? We're gonna
What?
have to have that clip.
You need to have that, Fletcher.
It's like what?
What?
This is
Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists. You're
yeah. Like do not pass go.
Again, I will say I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Now, what I have seen online about her statements in conjunction with Justice Sotomayor's statements is that both of these are DEI justices. I take offense at that. I don't think that's fair. I think both of these women are smart women who are letting the dumb part of their brains take over and saying the kind of things they said. I don't think it's fair to say that about them, especially when you consider Justice Kagan, who is white, has also said these things. People haven't reported on her though, and she's a very smart justice. But this is nonsense. The situation of children being stopped from doing something that is irreparable and can be lifelong problematic for them is the same reason we don't let children drive. We don't let children we don't let them vote. We don't let them engage in sexual things. And that's has nothing to do with, so she's focusing on, oh, you're saying a girl can't try to be a boy and a boy can try to be a girl, so it's sex discrimination. No, they're saying nobody, boy or girl, can take on surgeries that will change them fundamentally, their bodies, in a way that can't be fixed if they want to change back. It's nothing to do with, it's not about the sex part. It doesn't matter if they want to change into helicopters. We're saying it just so happens, by the way, look at the fraud of this, right? You're telling us there's no such thing as sex. Gender is like all the genders in the world. There's tons of them. Then why is it that you're always chop, snipping to be the other one? If it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if it's fluid, right?
If it's fluid, then why do you have to chop anything? Just let them be the other thing. If your gender identity is not by your genitalia, then why do you have to chop it off when you decide you're different than what it looks like?
That's don't get crazy. Don't get crazy now.
I mean, the fact is, with her, she's focusing on the fact that it sounds like, and maybe this is a fault of Tennessee if they said it this way, but because they're the ones who are defending their law that doesn't let these transformation surgeries happen on children. And I like that President Trump says he's not for this. I hope he can put an end to this somehow. I don't know if he can, but this needs to stop because children cannot make these kinds of decisions, and parents doing it for them have no right to do that. You don't have a right to make a decision for your child that would have a potentially harmful effect on them and that's lifelong. Because you can't go back. You can't go. If you take stuff out, we don't have the technology, at least now. Maybe in the future we would, but we don't now to put that stuff back. So go ahead and do other things for them, but you don't get to do this for them. You have to wait until they're old enough and then let them do it. I mean, we don't even let little kids get their ears pierced.
Oh, we don't let them get tattoos. We don't let them get it all out. We don't let them drive on the interstate. I mean, it's you don't even let them, ride like a
2-year-old can't even be outside by him or herself. We just saw the mom who got arrested for letting her 9-year-old outside by herself.
10 miles. He walked 10 miles to town.
Not even 10, Fletcher. It was 1 mile. He walked 1 mile.
So you walk, and then you get arrested. But if
he wants to chop something off,
exactly.
Okay. If he says at any point, you know what, I want to be this, I want to chop, he can do that. But he can't be outside by himself.
He can't be outside by himself. So that make sense.
And to me, I think it's morally bankrupt for her to say something like, I mean, I'm not saying she's not smart, and maybe that's a smart argument for a lawyer. I don't know. But for me, when I hear it, you're focusing on, the sex part, gender, you're saying girls can't be boys if they want to. That's discrimination. You're saying boys can't be girls if they want. No, we're saying nobody under 18 or under 17 or whatever the age cutoff is, can make life-changing decisions about transforming their bodies in a serious way, that's not to save their lives. Like, it's not clear, objectively, like, well, we have to take your spleen out because it's diseased. There's nothing diseased in the parts they want to take out or alter through these, medicines and transformative surgeries. It's nothing diseased. It's more the mind says that, right? So if that's true, tell me, is it going to kill them to wait till they're 18? And that's what they like to say, Fletcher. They say, oh, they're going to kill themselves.
You can't.
But there's ways to deal with that. That means you can give them antidepressants. Maybe you have counseling, because the fact is, the rates of deleting oneself after those surgeries is just as high. The studies on that, just as high, if not higher. So this is about protecting them. I can't believe this. It's sophistry. That's what she's engaging in. That's sophistry. Yeah, it's very smart. Oh yeah, it seems to be sexual. It's about immutable characteristics. And it's not. I mean, the fact is, as I heard Justice Alito said, wait a minute, can't you change your mind about being a transformer? And I guess that same person you showed us, Fletcher, the woman who's now a man, attorney,
the woman
had to,
who's dressing up like a
man, because you really can't change these things. And sounds like a woman. I'm sorry, you didn't. Her hormones are not working on the voice yet. It just sounds like a weird. I don't know why you wouldn't just be a cute girl instead of being like a creepy looking guy. I don't get that. Why would you choose that? But anyway,
a little creepy, yes.
Very creepy guy with the mustache. I don't know. Anyway, but apparently that lawyer had to admit, yeah, that's true. It's not immutable the way your race is or your actual sex is. It's because you can change your mind. You can be transformative. It's fluid, right? So it's not the same as race. I'm sorry, Justice Jackson. It's not the same as race. So bringing up the situation of interracial marriage, that's just like, again, it's just meant to be a shock value to say like, oh, it's the same thing. And it's sophistry. I mean, it's not the same thing. And you're just, why are you making that? To me, it seems like you're already committed to believing one way and you're coming up with clever arguments to support your side.
No, it's completely right. But I think they have this idea because a lot of this stuff is actually happening in their world. They believe that all this can happen because we do have industries that are supporting it and actually pushing them, where this fantasies somehow become a reality. And this is basically, so I guess this dude that's dressed up as a woman wins Model of the Year. Prize usually given to women who are in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so it let's see how this goes.
I'm the first trans woman to win this award.
Yeah, you're the first dude that has makeup on and a dress to win the award. And why are obviously a dude, but why are women cheering for this? That's the part that I don't get.
But I can't accept this award without thanking those that came before me, and specifically the Black trans women that really fought for the space that I'm in.
There you go. That's at least she wants to thank her Lord and Savior, the Black trans women that came before her.
Dominique Jackson, Connie Fleming, Aaron Rose Phillips, and countless more who fought for the space that allowed.
I guess they didn't spell check on that one, but as a biological woman and somebody who assess that they're a woman, or I don't know, I don't mean to assume. What do you think? How does this make you feel?
As a biological woman who also entered and won beauty pageants as a teenager and young woman, so hello, snap in a Z formation. Yes, you're yes, yes. More than
I'm
one.
sorry. Hold up.
Boom. Roasted.
Thank you.
Yes. Ursula has won a state teen pageant, and I was second runner up in another one, and I was placed in another one. So yeah, so as a biological woman who has actually been in part of beauty pageants, this is a obvious, just farce. This is a farce because women have carved out these spaces for themselves. And you're now saying, not only are you not as strong and as fit as men, that, you're not winning top place anymore in these competitive sports for college and also at the Olympics and other places, because other people, men who have better lung capacity, stronger muscles, quicker speed, greater height, denser muscles, and everything else that makes them better at sports. When we fought to have our own competitions and they now can win over us, oh, you're also more beautiful than us. You're more graceful than us. So women just suck. We're just literally the lesser sex is what you're saying. That's what this is saying. You could have your own pageant for people who are transformers and let women have their own space to compete. I did it that way. It helped me with college. So I did do one of these before college, and you do get scholarships, and it helped me with that. And it's also a part of a tradition. Like it makes women do really what we're here to do, right? To be, kind of graceful and beautiful. And people can be mad about that. Sorry, but talking from a Catholic perspective, that is part of our job here, right? We're meant to be like Mother Mary, right? We're meant to be loving and lovely, and that's what the competitions really are trying to seek out, right? And so you're saying, okay, man, you're better at it than we are. This person wins. I mean, I know it's model of the year is not a pageant, but at the same time is very similar, because models are kind of the commercial end of that kind of pageantry, right? They're supposed to be, God made us beautiful, right? They did. I mean, he gave us a special gift. And this is what now this dude is saying. I claim the flag for that also. I'm taller, I'm skinnier. Men have lower body fat. I just worry about what this is going to do to young girls too. Because if they try to look like him, you can't, because he's taller than you. He has, even the thinnest woman, it's actually dangerous for women to go below, like, say, 15% body fat. Honestly, what's ideal for women is about 20 to 25%. From what I've read, you tell me in the chat if you think that's wrong. I've read that many times. For a fit man, 7 to 10% body fat is just great. That's ideal. So we're not the same. Women are, here to bear children. That's part of our jobs here. And we can't do that being a stick. And already we have that kind of tendency with, male fashion models and male designers kind of making that the ideal. And then he's going to win the best model. Oh my gosh. I mean, he, she, I guess you're supposed to say she now.
Is that what it is?
Correct pronouns. Yeah. I just think that's terrible. It's a shame.
No, completely. And we have
howdy, Sir Glenn. Sir Glenn, wandering like Robert Frost out in the woods. Maybe he came to a road less traveled by.
That's
For those who don't know, it's time to get back to your English literature book.
Well, there you go. Yes, he also says, "I hate it when women act all feminine and demure." It's
LOL.
Yeah, such a turnoff. Oh, it can't. But all that,
and
a lot
that's
of
what
stuff.
The pageants do, right? I mean, I remember walking with a book on my head in heels, which I'm still not excellent at, and trying to talk softly and sweet and smile and be, gentle. These are feminine traits that they're trying to see who can do this well. And now you're saying, men, as long as you can act that way, you can beat us at it. Yeah. Come on.
But you can't say the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
Yes, that's a good Pygmalion reference. I just think that, listen, I don't besmirch this person. I don't know this person. God bless this person. However, there's got to be some kind of reason here. That there can't be a situation where, women. I mean, can you ever just think about this? Are there male pageants?
Yeah.
I mean, where's the chance for women? Let me go enter yours. Okay.
We have
Let me enter
competitions.
yours and take over from you. And that way you don't win. But the fact is, the reason that there aren't really, and if there are, they mostly are a joke, right? Like Mr. Universe is mostly going to be like weightlifting or something like that.
Oh, well,
It's because we're different. And so you're saying this person can play act, and therefore they take over from this space. It just seems so unfair. I think people know this is unfair, but now you hear these people cheering. It's like now there's like a collective mass psychotic
Right.
virtue signaling.
And
Like
it
we've got to all
affected the
show
Supreme
we
Court.
care. It totally does. And I don't know why this happened. Like, why did we allow this to happen? Like, you're hijacking. Nobody thinks anymore it's fair to treat people differently for immutable characteristics, things about them they can't change. Like, it's not fair
Well,
to say you don't like Asians, let them be, like people for who they are. But now they've taken it to this point where, like, now you got to cheer the man who's dresses like a woman who enters a pageant because you got to be fair.
It's government sponsored. It's Marxist.
Marxist.
You're
Yeah,
basically
it is
it is pushing. This is a government push. This is the new government thing, and it's basically forcing corporations to do stuff. I mean, you have the UK Premier League. It's obviously a corporation. It has grants from the government, I'm sure, and all this involved, and you have to bow the knee to the new government religion, sponsored religion, which is this whole alphabet mafia, as some people would say it. So in the Premier League, they have this like Stonewall Night or whatever they call it, where everything it has to be all should we say sunshines and rainbows?
Sure.
And then you have a Christian player who basically goes, "Hey, I'm not down with this, so I'm just gonna write on the armband, his captain armband. Every captain has an armband, and he says, "I love Jesus," and he gets an issue a warning. Basically, he's you're like kind of like a cease and desist in the football world, right?
Right.
But then you have the double standard, and this is the completely with the sense of there's a double standard in all this. When the Transformers do something or whatever, yay. When Christians do something, goes whoa, 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 whoa. They're like, oh, you meanie. But when our cousins, the Muslims, go, hey, I can't do that, they go, well, it's okay. Right? Because you have this huge gap, and it's like, well, homeboy, just because our cousins say it is cool. So Sam Morsey, he refused to wear the armband, and it's like, hey, it's cool, bro.
It's all good.
It's all good. I mean, you're just practicing your religion, and it just goes far in that because Marcus, he's facing all this reprimand, right?
Yeah.
Just because he wrote, he's trying to make it work. Basically, he's trying, like all Christians, and I feel like this is the problem. Is because our cousins, they don't want to make it work. They say, heck no. And it's working out great for them. I think we should be more like our cousins in this situation, and be like, hey, salam alaikum, my sucker. No way, I ain't doing it. And how about that? And I think, how about that? You know what we have to say. That's what we have to say. We just have to go, like, it's like, what do you have me to do? Wait a minute. I don't think
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I'm not gonna wear it and be like our cousins and go, because the reason he did this, and I think it's a way, it's like a bridge, right? He's trying to say, okay, I can't do what you guys are telling me to do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my little
Yeah.
twist to it to make it acceptable to me, like make it palatable. You're trying to feed me garbage, but I'm just gonna make it palatable, but make it a flambe, right? And,
Yeah.
this is his father is a minister and all stuff. He
Oh, I
supports
didn't
his.
know that.
Oh yeah. His father's a minister, and he was supporting his decision, and it's
I mean,
because his
on so
father
many
is,
levels,
yeah,
this is
it's a
wrong.
religious family.
It's so wrong because I mean, let's just start here. I mean, all the reasons you stated, Fletcher, is completely inconsistent. That apparently he did it again. He got another reprimand, but they didn't fine him this time. I heard. I don't know if that's true.
Mhm.
I guess because it does look so bad. The other guy is not wearing it at all. And you're telling people they can't have their own religious take on it, but at the same time, by making them wear the armband, that is a religious take, because that group hijacked the rainbow. The rainbow was a sign of God's covenant. It's in the
Right.
Bible. It's actually a symbol of Christian faith. And so it was, I think, knowingly co-opted for that movement, which does not subscribe, generally speaking. There are some who are Christians, but generally speaking, they do not subscribe to at least the God that we mostly follow, who are Christians, right? They don't, or they don't follow all the rules of that church. Some of them are saying, well, maybe the rules are not true, whatever, but for the most part, they just reject it. So this man, who is a religious Christian, a devout Christian, then says, this is my rainbow. I
Yeah.
don't mind wearing it, but I'm going to make sure it's clear what sign
Right.
I'm being made to wear, because on my very body, I need to not be a slave, and I need to not, dishonor God. And so they have a problem with that. That's disgusting, really. Let this man be himself, But like, I think you made a great point, Fletcher, because sometimes we try as Christians to, honestly, as a Catholic, we do try to work with people where they are. That's why sometimes people make the false claim that Catholics, have like a pagan side, or that we cooperate with, demonic things. There is some like evangelical group or something that says that, because like when I went to Europe, I saw like it was so strange. I was in Italy in Assisi, and it's a medieval city. It's actually where St. Francis is from. And there's this temple. It looks like a Roman temple. And turns out it's a Roman temple from before Christ, but it's a Catholic church. Some people would say, oh, look, see what we told you. You guys worship, Roman gods. No, that's not true. What it is that Catholics, to get along, will take over old places instead of tearing them down, offending people, and then say, look, you know what? You have in common this thing with us. Why don't you come over here? Instead of trying to make people get rid of all of their culture, say the parts that don't conflict with ours, you can keep. It's why, like, when you are in Hawaii, you'll see the masks. Sometimes people will wear, the lace around
Right.
their necks. They might even have, kind of hula
Hulas and
music,
stuff. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like, more sacred, not sexy, but sacred, like hula dances and so forth. That's controversial because some, rad trads are like, no, I don't want any of it, which, that's a good argument. But the church has traditionally tried to take people's culture, take them where they are, and bring them to Christ. And so that's what he's doing. He's saying, look, you guys want to believe in rainbows? I tell you what, guess who brings the rainbow? Guess whose sacrifice makes it that we are in covenant with God? We don't have to fear, destruction, which is what the rainbow came out of, because God killed the world, right? That's what happened with Noah and the flood. He got rid of everything and said, you guys are so wicked, I'm just going to start over. And then, as a sign of grace, he said, here's a rainbow to show I will not do that again. So he's saying that I love Jesus. It still has your rainbow. I'm not obliterating what they're saying. I'm just adding mine to it. But they can't tolerate that. That's what's strange about that. But maybe we shouldn't even try to cooperate. Maybe we're more better to be like the Muslim cousin and be like, we're not going to do it at all.
No, I mean truly, because the Muslim cousin doesn't get into trouble. The Muslim cousin doesn't have to wear it. He doesn't have
Yep.
to do. And I'm like, I'm all for the Muslim cousin now. It's like, yeah. And it just leads to more shenanigans. That's the problem. Every
Yeah.
time you do
Yeah.
something like that, it just leads to more shenanigans. And it has to be stopped. I mean, let us know what you guys think. I just feel that we have to kind of take a stance completely, just get rid of it completely. and don't
Maybe you
share it now.
can't. Maybe we're at this late stage of post Christianity where no longer can we try to be of, reaching out, good faith, try to meet people where they are. Maybe it is about taking that stand now. Maybe we just have to be ready to be martyrs
No,
because,
that's it. It's
yeah.
fully done, ready to be martyrs, because it's just going to get worse if we accept it. I mean, if we look, this is St. Ignatius of Loyola Church in New York, and this is a mass that they were doing here. Um, I mean, what the heck is this? You have people just
What the heck is
do
that?
stuff, and they have this. I have no clue what this is. This is like, it's just, what the heck is this going on in the mass? Like I said, when there's cultural things
Mm-hmm.
happen in the church, this is to a culture, right? This is not a culture thing. This is just weird.
It
I
is
mean,
just weird. I
it's
mean,
just weird.
I think you're right about that because see what happened is, and I think, oh my gosh, I think it was an African cardinal. I want to say almost Cardinal Orenze, which a lot of people like. He's Nigerian. I think he said, look, in Africa, in some parts of Africa, like Nigeria, again, because the church has always said, look, we're going to meet people where they are. Culture is not bad in and of itself. There are some cultural practices that are bad, and those we can't abide by. Like, for example, in Mexico, where they were, making child sacrifice and human sacrifice. There's actual pictures, drawn pictures of, Aztec warriors, like taking the beating heart out of people. Okay. That's not acceptable. We can't keep that. But we can certainly keep, your makeup or the certain kind of dress you wear, some of your music. We can keep that. Why should we make you say you have to do everything that we do European? Or from the Middle East or what have you, we can change it. But Cardinal Arenze said, yes, in Africa, we do have some dancing because in our cultural practices of Africa, we have dancing that is non-sexual. So you have
Right.
dancing that's meant to be flirtatious. You have dancing that's meant to go to war. You have dancing that's meant for celebration. In other words, there's a very complex and rich tradition of dancing that has different meanings. He goes, but in the West, dancing, maybe it used to be mixed, but now it mostly is sexual. That's what it's mostly like: carousing, kids hanging out, dancing, is parties, is twerking, is that. He goes, so for you to dance in the mass is very inconsistent with worship of God. You shouldn't be doing this crap because it just looks like hippie, stupid stuff. For us and for other cultures, maybe in China, maybe in Sri Lanka, who knows, they might have like among the hula. Not people may associate it with like, sexy Hawaiian girl. But in fact, Hawaiian dancing is a lot more complex than that. Men dance as well. It's very much a communication strategy. It has to do with like we've talked about this before, the Maori dancing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so there's like, and like Sir Glenn says, yes, what these women are doing looks like a bad rendition of the whirling dervishes of a Mufi Sufi sect. He's so right. I've seen some of those. I've seen a performance. Now, they are religious practices, but there are some who do it for performance, and they whirl around. It's quite amazing to see. And what's their tradition of that? That's just nonsense what they're doing. There's no cultural
Right,
roots
that's
to
the
them.
problem. There's no
Yeah, there's
cultural roots to this.
nothing,
It's so
nothing.
much difference when people trying to say, "Well, it's the culture." Yeah, like we said, when you're in Hawaii, when you're in Papua New Guinea, when you're in these cultures like New Zealand, where people are like, "Okay, we're gonna bring in this." It's not that we bring in. This is a way to celebrate, like Cardinal Rense was saying. There's certain dances in Africa, certain things you do because this is the people. In other words, uh, people dress in a suit and tie in Western world, right?
Right.
When it's a holy day of obligation, the majority of the congregation dresses up. Now, if you're dressing up in Hawaii, that's a completely different dress up. The
Yeah.
climate is different. If you're dressing up in Papua New Guinea, it's a completely different way of dressing up. There's a completely different, there's words, there's communications, there's all kinds of things that are different. This is a makeshift culture. This is not the thing. This is I agree with Sir Glenn. This is
It's the sugar plum fairy dance. You took
That's
the words
what
out
it
of
is.
my mouth. Well, he took it out of our mouths. It's the sugar plum fairy dance.
That's what
That's
it is.
complete nonsense. There's nothing rich about it. There's no spiritual antecedent to it. There's nothing special about it. It looks like garbage, and it's embarrassing, and it takes away from God. It takes away from what this worship is supposed to be about. Look at this beautiful church designed by people who had the idea to lift our hearts and minds up to the transcendent being, he who is, who was, who always will be. And then you have this people doing, I don't know what in front of them, the sugar plum fairy dance. It's not real. And I like what you said, Fletcher, because that's again what the church tries to do. When we tell people you should come to God and look respectable when you come to church, what respectable looks like will vary. We're not telling people in Papua New Guinea you have to wear a suit and tie and Oxford loafers. For them, it might be like a long, clean white shirt with a caftan, right? I mean, for the African women, it's going to be a gele, a certain, kind of, very patterned fabric. That's what I'm saying about like
Yeah,
a culture.
you go to
You let
Africa
people-
and you're
yeah.
wearing your gold slippers, gold
Exactly.
sandals.
If you're in Korea, what's dressed up is going to look different, right? It's going to
Right.
be one of those special dresses.
Yeah, it's gonna be like hammock or something.
Exactly, a hanbok. I forget. We got to
Hanbok,
find out what
yeah.
if you guys know the name, please tell us that. In Vietnam, in China, wherever, that's where maybe Radtraz kind of want everybody to look the same. And I really do like Latin. I think that the language was all the same. That was used to be. Now we've changed that. At least the Catholic Church, we changed that to go to the vernacular again with this idea. But you see what has devolved. Look at this. We see people making stuff up, and honestly, I think I would leave the church if I saw that, Fletcher.
Yeah, that's what it's leading.
I think I would step out of there.
It was leading more people to kind of go away from this. But I think Sir Blanton, you're right. Thank you for saying we hit the nail on the head when becoming martyrs. It has to come to that. I mean, that's always where the church is loosey goosey. The only way to bring it back is to kind of go, standing wall and stuff like that. You're not moving from this direction. I mean, it's so simple. It's just certain things we don't do. It's certain things we don't do. It's certain words we don't say. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I feel like our cousins have more authority in this when they go, nah, I ain't doing that. That's not getting involved with that. That's just no way. Absolutely no way. This is the way we're going to do it. And we've gotten away from a lot of that as a faith. And I think we need to come back to it because, it's funny because me being a nerd, religious nerds are weird because being a nerd, it's already annoying, right? In a sense of being an outcast from society. Being a neurodivergent nerd, it means even more. But I think you do have the sense of when you're a religious nerd, when you're a nerd that's Catholic in a sense, you are more ostracized because it's funny because some of my friends are like, are you going to go see that? And I'm like, no, I can't see that. You know good and well I can't see that. It has images and things like that I'm
like you mean like
watch.
seeing a certain movies that they're watching,
right? So it's going to see a certain movie that's overly sexual, going to see a movie that has the LGB and the T's, never mind the other alphabets. If the other alphabets are involved, sometimes the LGB and the T is not as bad if it's done tastefully, but when it goes full on out, the rest of the alphabet mafia, yeah, I ain't watching that. So you kind of have to go to yourself, okay, it's okay to say that. It's all right that I won't, you get mocked and you get fun of. Ooh, I mean, come on, have parents that are Black or Latino and tell me that their words hurt when people call you stupid names. It's like, son, I've been called stupid names all my life from my own family members that love me. So coming from strangers, I think I will be fine. We have to start developing, I think, as Christians, of thicker skin, not to be swayed. What does the scripture say? Not to be swayed with all kinds of things that are happening in the world, but being steadfast in the faith. I think we need to come
Amen.
more of that. I think that's what we need. We need more people standing up saying, "Hey, a lot of this stuff that you guys are doing are wacky as heck, and hey, whatever you want to do, but you know."
And I think what you're saying, which is kind of interesting, is that perhaps this martyrdom is not just with the world, it might be inside the church, because you do have infiltration in the church of people who want to be like the world. Right? They don't want to follow what Jesus taught us. They don't want to follow the old traditions of faith. They don't, with a capital T, not human traditions, but sacred ones that God taught us, like, actually come in there worshiping him, not dancing around like a sugar plum fairy. Like those things that there's people who, I mean, obviously someone put that together. They think that's good.
Yeah.
So you have to be a martyr with even your own people, so-called, because there's people in the church who, maybe we'll do a show about this. We keep talking about these shows we're going to do, Fletcher, but
I know we got
there's a whole group of people in the alphabet theology talking about how, like, God, did God really mean that you can't, be with someone of your same sex? Does he mean that? Is that where is that? So it's like ridiculous. It's like, okay, well, you're saying for 2,000 years we've been wrong, and Jesus let us be wrong all this time, but you guys are the smart ones and discovered it.
Figured it out,
So you got to like fight your own people to some extent, and that's martyrdom too.
No, I agree. As Sir Glenn says, a religion dance should be meditation on the glory of God, not an Instagram routine or TikTok routine.
Exactly.
No, completely. You should have some contemplation, right?
Let me repeat it. It's really good. A religious dance should be a meditation on the glory of God, not an Insta routine. That's true. And I did myself a little group when I was younger, praise and worship dancing. I taught little girls, a little routine we would do in church and so forth, not during mass or anything like that, but we did do some praise and worship dancing. It's really nice, but it's got to be on the glory of God. We did it to a psalm. There was no sugar plum fairy vibe. It wasn't, at least I hope not. Someone should have told me if that was the case, but it was very different. And honestly, as Catholics, we really put God's worship first. That's why the Eucharist is the source and summit of our faith. We really look at
that's what you have
Jesus
adoration,
on the altar.
you have
not about
things.
Us.
You have all kinds of outlets for that kind of energy in the church, in the sanction. That's a mass. That's not it. But
you know what? Honestly, those women, they don't need to be doing that anyway. I mean, no offense, that is not a good look.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look. But we'd like to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. If you catch it on the replay, thank you so much. People hanging out. Sir Glenn, it's always a pleasure. And we got harder out than usual, but we thank everybody for hanging out.
Thank you,
and
guys.
We'll see you on the flippity flip.
Yes, please like, share, subscribe, and please remember, I think her name is Bevelyn Williams, no relation to anyone we know, but she is fighting a battle. I hope Trump pardons her, but in the meantime, it'd be helpful if you could help her family out. She did nothing wrong, honestly, in a moral sense. From a legal sense, she protested an abortion. I'm sorry, a sacrifice to Moloch center, but she didn't do anything wrong. Okay, I think God will vindicate her, but if you could help, please do that. And Fletcher, maybe we can put that up, and then we'll see you guys next week.
All right, thank you. I'll put it on the comment section, so thank you.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus, Santa